This is the Mark Dolan Way. Top tips for mind, body and soul, some great life hacks, and my favourite products of the week. This show is available on all podcast platforms, or you can watch it. Just subscribe to the Mark Dolan Way on YouTube and join the Facebook group. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the show. I hope you are very well. I hope you've had a very good week. Lots to talk about today. Let's start with my product of the week. We haven't done product of the week for a while. And given the fact that it's called product of the week, I kind of should be doing it every week. So I've let you down badly on that one. But I've got a great product of the week and I completely forgot to tell you about it because I've had it for 2.5 months. And it is an ice maker. I love having ice in the house. My dream was always to have one of those American fridge freezers with the 2 doors. And in one of the doors is an automatic ice dispenser. And you literally press your glass or mug against this plastic lever and then ice cubes just sort of shoot out. That was always the dream. When I was at school, a friend of mine had such an ice maker in his fridge. Wow, that's actually plumbed in. So you got like a sort of water pipe that goes into the fridge and it creates this ice. And my dad ran a pub for 40 years. So I grew up with ice available 24/7 from these incredible professional ice machines, which were in the cellar of the pub. And so on a hot summer's day, you could just go downstairs into the cellar and get yourself a pint glass of amazing ice, really big, chunky, solid ice cubes. Actually, I'm passionate about ice. The more I think about it, the more I realize how much I love ice and have always loved ice. When I was a kid, I used to eat it. It would just go in my mouth and I would just chew it. It was a great pleasure. The other thing I did as a kid is I used to eat sugar cubes. In the 70s and 80s, cafes would always have a bowl of sugar cubes on the table. And you could just help yourself to sugar cubes, which would go in your tea or coffee. And I used to just chuck one of those in my mouth and chomp away, which is why I have many fillings. You're welcome. So I used to love the sugar cubes, and I most certainly used to love the ice cubes, and I still love the ice cubes. In fact, I've got a thing about cold liquids. So beer, for example, which I have very occasionally, has to be almost frozen. It has to be so cold, but not quite with icicles in it. Painfully cold, kind of like brain freeze cold. So what I often do is I will keep my beer in the fridge at a low temperature, which is 3 degrees. That is the temperature of my new fridge, which, by the way, is a very good fridge. I'm very happy with it. It's a Samsung. It's silent. It's got slightly brighter interior light, which means you can see the food and other contents more easily. And it sort of cheers me up every time I open the door because it's so bright. It's like appearing on stage or something. It's a spotlight. And so this fridge is good. And I keep it at 3 degrees. But if I'm being really greedy in terms of wanting the beer to be cold, 15 minutes before I drink it, it comes out of the fridge and it goes into the freezer just to get it even colder. Obviously, you can't leave it in too long because then it will be frozen and it becomes beer ice cream. But yeah, if I'm feeling really, really fancy, that's what I'll do. The other thing I like to do is have a glass or a mug which lives in the freezer. And when you put cold beer into a frozen glass, not only does it keep the drink colder for longer, but actually it slightly chills the drink when it goes in. In really good bars in America, especially in hot parts of America, when you have a beer, they have special fridges just for the glasses. How cool is that? How cool is that? They pull out this drawer and then there are just glasses in this freezer unit. And they take the glass out, and when the glass just hits room temperature air, it immediately frosts up because that's how cold it is. and then they pour the beer into that. Oh, how civilized. Anyway, so yes, I like things cold. The other thing is I love milk being very cold. Milk has got to be cold. If milk is not cold enough, you realize how disgusting milk actually is. You can actually taste what it is you're drinking, which obviously comes from cows. But when it's really cold, it's just this wonderful abstract beverage. So I really enjoy the cold milk. And I grew up, I used to have cereal. I used to have Frosties and Cocoa Pops. And what else did I used to have? Crunchy nut cornflakes. And again, the milk would go into the freezer for a few minutes before being served, and it would be ice cold. And you got the crunch of the Frosties and the ice cold bite of the milk, and it was just a brilliant combo. Whereas, you know, when you're in a hotel, and if you have cereal in the hotel, and the milk is just in this jug which has been sitting there for 3 hours, and it's just like slightly cold but approaching room temperature. Is that not disgusting with cereal? Room temperature milk with cereal? Thanks, but no thanks. So I like cold beer, I like cold milk, I like ice. And I would have liked one of those fridges that dispenses ice. But the thing is, it's a palaver to plumb it in. We don't have the space for one of those big fridges. I don't want to get a plumber. There's just a whole world of issues with trying to have a fridge that makes ice. And in fact, it's not necessary, because for my birthday, I was given an ice maker. Now, I don't mean those disgusting molds, you know, those plastic trays, and you've got to like fill the tray with water, and it's all wobbly. And by the time it goes into the freezer, half of it is spilt. And it's gone inside the freezer, so you're going to have this kind of solid frozen lake of water in the drawer. And it spills on your peas, and it spills on the frozen meat, and it's just a complete disaster. I do not like. And then have you noticed how hard it is to get the ice out of those ice trays? They're a shambles. It's a horrible, horrible design. They've never got it right. So I do not like that. So what I was doing for a long time, and I think I told you about it on the podcast, is I was buying ice. And I think it might even have been a recommendation. Because actually, buying ice is not that expensive. It's a big bag is £1, and that would keep me going for nearly a week. And it was really good, lovely, chunky ice made from filtered water. So it's hygienic and clean. And so I used to have that, and that would be in the drawer. What I used to do is the top drawer of the freezer, of the old freezer, there would be a couple of bags of ice in there. And when you wanted ice, you just sort of reach into the bag and drop them in your glass. But the thing is, I was having to top up, and I had to always make sure that there was a bit of a surplus of ice in the house. So in a way, I was giving it a lot of thought. It was using up too much brain space, and it was costing me money. It was probably costing me, £4 to £6 a month, which is not nothing, is it? Anyway, for my birthday, I did not expect this, because there was a big box. It was a big device that was going to be my birthday gift. And I thought it was an air fryer, because I think that's the obvious thing you would give to a middle-aged man. And it is the sort of fashionable device at the moment, the air fryer. So I just assumed it was an air fryer, and I opened it, and it wasn't. It was an ice maker, and I was very happy with that. So let me tell you that it's a tremendous thing. So an ice maker is an electronic device. You plug it in, and it's a tabletop device. So how big is it? It's hard to describe. It's about, when you go into a shop and there's like a till, it's about like half the width of one of those, but a similar height. Let me do it should I do my rubbish measurements? I'd say it's like 25 centimeters wide, and I'd say it's about 35 centimeters tall. And it's so simple. You plug it in, and there's a tray, and you fill it up with water, and then you just turn it on. There are two sizes of ice cube, small and large. I would go for the large, because even the large ones are small. Okay, it does not make big ice cubes, so you need to go for the largest possible. And then after about 9 minutes, suddenly you hear this sound of ice falling into this tray. And it's a bit like Wallace and Gromit. Do you remember Wallace and Gromit, that fantastic cartoon where these characters have invented a sort of special device that makes them their breakfast when they wake up in the morning? It's a bit like that. It's very clever how it sucks the water through, and then it's got this little pulley, and this thing goes up, and then another thing goes down, like a little forklift mechanism, and then it pushes the ice over. It's really fancy. It's a very fancy little technique and technology. And so it chucks out less than 10 minutes for a handful of ice cubes. But the thing is, you just leave it on, and it just keeps making ice until the whole tray is full. And what you do is it knows when the tray is full and it stops making ice. It's got a sensor, at which point you just take the tray out and you empty the ice into the freezer, and then you put the tray back in, and then it carries on making ice. And then the water level drops and you just fill it up with more water, and you could just do that all day long if you wanted. And what I tend to do is I tend to do batches. So if I'm in the kitchen working, doing emails and stuff, then I'll make ice for an hour non-stop and just replenish, and that will keep us going for a few days. It's obviously very cost effective, because I've been looking, by the way, I wanted to let you know what brand I had, and I've actually looked at it and I cannot find a brand name on it. If I find out what brand it is, I'll let you know, but I don't think it matters, because I think the technology is very universal. And I've been looking at Amazon, and Amazon do one, and it's an Amazon Choice. Now, I really like the Amazon Choice, because what the Amazon Choice is, it's a product that Amazon have tested, and also it's had good reviews, and it's sold many units. So I actually trust Amazon's Choice when it comes to a lot of things. And Amazon's Choice at the moment for ice makers is something called a Kumio, Kumio, Kumio countertop ice maker machine. And it looks very similar to mine, to be honest with you. I think, honestly, guys, I think they're much of a muchness. But this one is £75. It was £89.99. So that's a reasonable reduction of £15 and 75 quid for a lifetime supply of ice. Now, I've had this machine for 2 or 3 months. I've had no mechanical problems. It's running really well. You don't keep it on all the time, by the way, because there's this idea that you keep it running. But I think it's just a waste. It doesn't need to be on all the time. And also what happens is that the unit does get quite warm, and you'll find that the ice it makes inside just melts quite quickly, because the actual ice maker is not refrigerated. So it produces ice, which then just sits in the machine, and it does melt quite quickly. Obviously, the idea is then it just produces more ice. It would be lovely if the whole unit was refrigerated. Then it means that it would make a batch, it would be full, and then that ice would just stay frozen. But it doesn't do that. But you don't need it. You do not need it. It's just there to produce a certain amount of ice, which you then keep. Now, what I've done is I've designated the top drawer of the freezer is ice only, which was always my dream. It's nearly as good as a fridge that produces its own ice. Because what I do is I just open the freezer door, pull out that top ice tray, and I reach in, I grab a handful of ice, and that can go in my lemonade. That can go in my whey protein. Whey protein is an excellent way of having more protein, because most people don't get enough protein. And we've done a whole episode on whey protein in the past, so have a look at that. But something that makes the whey protein more palatable is you take your whey protein, you mix it with milk, and then you add ice, and it becomes a milkshake, basically. It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. So anyway, I'm really happy with my ice maker, and that is my product of the week, is an ice maker. What else do I need to tell you? I was in the supermarket today, and do you know one of my favorite things in the supermarket? I was buying double cream, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but double cream does not, and the Americans call it heavy cream. It's that nice thick cream. It doesn't stay fresh for that long, does it? And so I'm always looking for the freshest option. And I grabbed the double cream I was going to buy, and I looked at the use by date, and it was like 8th of May, which is sort of 3 days from now. And I thought, okay, that's a bit on the edge, isn't it? I'm not going to get through it in 3 days. And then I reached to the back of the fridge unit in the supermarket and I found another one, and it was like 12th of May. I mean, can you imagine how happy I was? What a fist pump that is. What a mic drop. What a high five. You have broken the internet when you reach into the back of the fridge in the supermarket and you get a fresher item. And I do that all the time. I do that with meat. I do that with steaks. I do that with chicken fillets, right? I reach right into the back and I pull one out from the back, and you'll find very often the one at the back of the fridge is a couple of days fresher than the one in the front. But you see, this show is about putting you in the top 5%. 95% of people are lazy and they don't bother doing that. They just grab from the front and off they go. But if you're willing to go the extra mile and reach into the back of the fridge unit, you will find fresher items at the back. Now, I feel very bad because I think the supermarkets are furious that I'm giving you this tip, but it's not against the law. And it means that the items you get will last longer. Why not? It's a good feeling. Absolutely buzzing about how fresh that cream is going to stay. It works that way with bread as well. Quite often you'll buy bread and there'll be a loaf in the front and you reach to the back and there's a different date on the one further back. Do you do that? Not many people do that. We are in the top 5% that do. This podcast could so easily be called the 5%. It could so easily. But then you wouldn't know what that meant, or people wouldn't know what that meant. It's too bloody abstract. Love that. It was a happy experience in the supermarket. I went to the dump again recently, which was cathartic. So nice, so satisfying to get rid of stuff. 3 bin bags of stuff from the house. And it feels a bit like losing weight. It's like big bags of fat that are coming off your body. And some of it will be recycled. Some of it will go into landfill, which is a real shame. I've got an old stereo radio from Sony, which I'm going to give to a shop that has old machines in it already, sort of old musical appliances, amplifiers, speakers. So that'll go to them because it can be used. That's the thing. If something has another use, please don't throw it away. Give it to a charity shop. You can take it to the dump and you can leave it. Don't throw it into the skip in the dump. Leave it next to the skip and someone may be interested in it and take it. And when I went to the dump, by the way, they had some lovely tiles which were being thrown away, but they were left out. And it was like, please take these tiles, help yourself. And I got some really nice grey slate tiles, which are now being used at home. And we're all delighted with them. I'm a devil for collecting more things at the dump than I've actually dumped. But at least I'm not buying stuff and I'm not wasting. So I hope that's all right. I've had to be patient this week. There was an issue with my glasses, which were being, basically had an old frame, and I asked for another copy of it. And it came back and it wasn't quite right and it was the wrong shape. And it went back like twice. And I've been waiting 4 months for this replacement replica frame. And it should take a few weeks and it's taken 4 months. And do you know what? I was so patient with them. I didn't get cross with them. It kept coming back. It kept being wrong. And my strategy was to love bomb them and go, I don't mind. Let's get this right. It's not a problem. And I was just crazily patient. I did the opposite of being impatient. And the reason why is because I made a judgment, which is they're trying their best with these glasses. They're having problems. It's not for a lack of effort. It's not a bad attitude. It's just that they're finding this frame difficult. And me getting cross with them is not going to help achieve the goal, which is a new pair of glasses. So I just identified there's no point getting cross about it. And I went the other way and I was like ultra nice about it and really cool about it and really positive about it. And it meant that those people went the extra mile, because I got an email from the opticians at one point saying, your frames are back in now, but I've looked at them and I don't think they're right. This is the person at the shop is like, I don't think they're right, so I'm sending them back. So that is the level of goodwill that I've achieved, is that they are being fussy on my behalf, right? They could have just hoped that I would have accepted those frames, right? I'd come in, they'll fob me off and go, that'll do, I hope you're happy. But they were fussy on my behalf, probably because I approached the whole thing with patience and with care, and I was nice about it. And I think it just, and then finally glasses were ready and they're absolutely perfect. But it took 4 months. But I kind of went the opposite way of my emotions, because my emotions were that I was basically rather irritated and not happy. And it's been an impossibly long wait. But I went against my emotions. I went the other way. Do you remember when I told you that sometimes if I'm a bit depressed, which by the way it's a human thing, and you shouldn't fight it. It's natural. It is like the weather. Your mood is like the weather, and sometimes it rains, and that's okay. There's no such thing as bad weather, just weather. Sunshine is weather, rain is weather. So being down, that is life. That is part of life. That's your emotional weather. And just let it rain, darlings, let it rain. And then the sun breaks through the clouds and all is good. And you can only enjoy the sun if you've had rain. That's the irony. Yes, when I'm down, I'll go into a shop or whatever, I'm walking down the street, and I'm extra jolly to people because I go the opposite way of my emotions, because it just cheers me up. I go into the newsagent and go to the shop and go, hello, how are you? Are you having a good day? I hope you're having a nice day. And people think I must be like this happiest guy ever, but they don't know that I'm actually sad. I'm down, but that it helps me, it lifts me to be upbeat with them, and it changes my mood. It's a lovely thing. I don't think, by the way, that you should fake anything. And I don't think you should with your loved ones and friends, pretend everything's fine, la, 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 because that's like bottling things up. But I think just in your interactions with strangers, a waiter or waitress or a shop worker or someone in the street, these are not close friends. These are not family members. And a little bit of theatre, a little bit of sort of fake positive energy, I think can go a long way. And it just cheers me up. I mean, it's just a decision to be upbeat and nice, isn't it? And so I go into the shop and I'm getting stamps, or I'm buying a drink, or I'm buying this, or I'm buying, and I'm like, hello, how's your day going? How are you? Thank you very much. That looks like a great coffee. Brilliant. See you soon. Is it busy today? Are you busy? Has it been when did you start? Are you finishing your shift soon? All the small talk. And they like it because people are not normally so attentive, and you're being jolly, and it bounces back, and then they're jolly to you, and then you feel happier, and you're not in this dark, gloomy mood anymore. So it's a great, great thing. So going against your emotions is definitely not bad. Like I said, that I'm rather irritated by this issue with my glasses, but my emotion is, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's all cool. And the reason why is because I've understood that there's nothing that can be done about it, and that anger and yielding to my negative emotions is not going to cause an end product that I'm looking for. I had an issue with, I didn't have an issue, a colleague at work made a mistake, and his boss yelled at him. That just really gave him such a bollocking, really, really attacked him. And it's because he did something that was maybe not the wisest judgment. But first of all, this person's quite new, and this person's quite young. This person does their best, is very able, and is very enthusiastic. And apparently they've been really down for a couple of days. It's really crushed their confidence. And it was completely unnecessary for this boss to shout at them and go crazy like that. The emotion did not need to be part of that transaction. All the boss needed to do, which is what I would have done and what I do, is say, that piece of work that you did was inappropriate. It was ill-judged, and it makes us look bad, and it was a mistake to do it. Now, have you noticed, right? I'm just sharing information there, but I'm not raising my voice. I'm not using curse words. I'm not using demeaning language or belittling that person, not calling them an idiot, stupid, any of that stuff. Just calmly explain, given them the information that they need, which is that what they did was not correct. You don't need to shout it. You don't need to swear about it. You just say, hey, that job you did yesterday, I'm afraid it wasn't right because X, Y, and Z. So do you mind being careful not to do that again? Right? How good is that? Nobody's ego has been hurt. Nobody's emotions have been trampled on. Nobody's confidence has been dented. The problem with that boss now is that the person will be risk averse. The person will self-censor and be less creative for fear of enraging their boss again. I want the people that work around me to take chances and roll the dice. I actually want them to make mistakes because it means they're being creative and they're trying. What I don't want is I don't want the same mistake more than once. And that's the golden rule on our show, and it's the golden rule of this podcast. Every mistake once. But yeah, I just thought that was a lesson from somebody else there, that yelling at people, you just say the words. You don't have to raise the volume. The message is the same. In fact, it probably goes in better if you're just calm about it. And by the way, if they keep making a mistake and if they are horrendously incompetent the whole time, fine, then you get rid of them. You do. You get rid of them. You give people a chance to improve and learn and make mistakes and get better. And if they don't, au revoir. Okay. But at least you've given them a chance. And I just don't understand this mentality of yelling at people. Never really done it. Never will. Because it doesn't work. There you go. That's not the same. Because you must think, oh, well, I sound like I'm a nice person to work with. Yes, but that's not the same as, some people think that if you let people away with doing a bad job, that's being nice. No, that's being rubbish. You don't, there must be accountability. So if I was working with this person that made the mistake, I would have addressed it and I would have told them that what they did was wrong. I wouldn't just go, great show, smiley, smiley, everything's fine, nothing to see here, so that I'm nice, so that they like me. No, I would have said exactly what the boss that shouted at them said, but I would have done it without emotion. I would have done it very calmly and with care and with humor. What you could do is sandwich the negative feedback into 2 bits of positive information. So you can say, hey, that bit of work you did yesterday was really good, got great feedback. Then we talk about where they went wrong, and then you can give them another good piece of praise as well. So you can have a sandwich. You can sandwich the negative message in between 2 bits of good news if you feel that they're particularly sensitive. We're going to do a whole show on Marcus Aurelius, who had this book, Meditations, from ancient Rome, philosopher, politician, man about town. And in his meditations, there's so much in there. But a big one is that the number one purpose of life is to better oneself. So your whole purpose in life is just to make yourself better. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. 85% of the things that you worry about will never happen. Maybe more, maybe 90%, maybe 95%, maybe 100%. But your number one purpose is to better yourself. And what that involves is you make yourself fit through exercise. You eat food which improves your body composition. You develop your skills, which makes you more employable and better at work. You connect with people so that you can build friendships. You nurture your loved ones so that love grows. Your whole number one purpose in life is to better yourself. A great investment you can make is to invest in you. Meditation classes, a personal trainer, a therapist, a book club, whatever it is, but you're investing in yourself. Your number one purpose in life is to better yourself. That's Marcus Aurelius. More on that on a future episode. We'll do a whole special on him because he was very wise. I'm a big fan of the Mel Robbins podcast. She's one of the #1 self-help people in the world. She's outstanding. She had a guest on the other day, and they were talking about happiness. And the key to happiness is to have goals, because actually getting things doesn't make you happy. So when an entrepreneur makes their first million, they're happy for like 4 minutes and then they go back to their normal mood. So actually it is the journey, not the destination. And it is the having of goals and the pursuit of those goals, which is the source of happiness, which means that if you do have that hit record, or if you do make your first million, it's critical at that point to have the next goal. You don't just go, that's it now, I've got my million, job done. So you basically, human beings just live on goals. We've got to have goals the whole time. And I've always thought that, because let's say you wanted to be an actor. Just pursuing that goal of acting, which be acting classes, or reading plays and learning them, and God knows what, going to the theatre in order to just like watch others do it. Just that process of trying to be an actor is going to give you pleasure even before you've become an actor, because you're already in that world. You already started to immerse yourself in it. So the journey has begun, and it's a great thing. So it's the same with, let's say you're starting a business. You've got a goal to have a successful business, which makes a profit. Well, just emailing potential clients is exciting. I mean, have you not noticed that if you're trying to get work and you email someone and then you just can't wait to keep checking your phone to see if a reply has come in yet? That's a great feeling. And then bang, you get the reply and say, thank you for your inquiry, ... And sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's a no. But just trying to make it happen and pursuing that goal is already a source of pleasure. So there you go. So have a think about what goals you've got at the moment. If you don't have any goals, write down 3 goals now and go after them. Okay? And just, why don't you do a really hard one, a medium one, and a bit of an easier one, and just go after all 3. It doesn't really matter. It's anything that you want will pull you in the right direction. I used to work with a comedy actor who was very good at improv and stuff like that. And I used to watch him, and I used to watch these improvised comedians doing these scenes without a script. And I'm like, it just seemed like wizardry. And he said, it's the easiest thing in the world. He said, there's nothing to it. He said, it's just a technique. It's easier than writing something, and it's easier than stand up. He just said, it's a cinch. And I found that very inspiring, because I looked at it and I just thought, that's impossible what you do. It's magic. It's a dark art. It's supernatural. But him telling me it was easy just made me think, okay, well, I'll give it a try. And what I found is that you have to work hard for it to become easy. So you do it lots and you practice, and it becomes this mindset. And then once you've got that mindset, there is nothing to it. And Woody Allen has said there's nothing to writing jokes. He said it's the easiest thing in the world, writing jokes. And Elton John, who pops up a lot in this podcast, finds it very easy to write songs. But he writes the greatest songs we've ever heard. He writes songs that are provably brilliant. You slam on Candle in the Wind or Rocket Man. You put that on after this show and tell me that that is not a premium composition. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like bloody classical music, some of that stuff. It's wild. Sorry seems to be the hardest word. The chords on that, the vocals, the melody, the lyrics. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I think it's better than the Beatles, but that's only my opinion. I think it's on another bloody level. But for Elton, there's nothing to it. So, weirdly, I don't want you to always think that everything is so hard. Right? It's not helpful. You just sit down and do it. And sometimes it's hard and sometimes it isn't. But a lot of the time, once you get going, most stuff Ain't that hard? Doing your tax return, that company report, the speech to your colleagues at work. It wasn't that hard in the end. Most things are not as hard as we build them up to be. It's not that hard. You could say it's easy. The very best protocol for giving up things that you're addicted to, in my opinion, is the Alan Carr easy way method. Easy way. The Alan Carr easy way to stop smoking, to stop drinking, sugar addiction, smartphone addiction, gambling. It's just an amazing phenomenon called Alan Carr. Let me give you the correct spelling, because there is a comedian of the same name, but it's not that. It's called Alan Carr. It's spelled Allen Carr, Carr. Oh, and there's so many. They've got new ones now. So the easy way to quit sugar, the easy way to control alcohol, the easy way to quit cocaine, Alan Carr's Stop Drinking Now, Alan Carr's easy way to quit emotional eating, Alan Carr No More Worrying. I should check that one out. Don't know that one. Anyway, it's funny because all of his books are called Easy Way, because actually his method is so effective. It's so easy. So in life, whatever it is you're thinking about doing, it's actually not that hard. So stop thinking of everything as hard, because if you think of everything as hard, you'll never get around to it. You just get on with it. I mean, is hiking up a mountain hard? Yes. But actually, is putting one footstep in front of the other hard? No, that's easy. Well, you can just do that for 3 hours and you're at the top of the mountain. There we are. I rest my case. A couple of other things before I let you go. Find the good where others don't find it. I had an argument with a friend recently. Not an argument, but Phil Collins. Somehow it got out that I like Phil Collins. Now, I'm going to say I don't think Phil Collins is on that level of Elton John. Of course not. You know, I'm talking about Rocket Man and Candle in the Wind and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, for God's sakes. Ridiculous songs. And Phil Collins is a really, really talented guy and very prolific and has sold a lot of records. It's not on the same level. A lot of it is very pop music. It's quite cheesy, a lot of it. But there are a couple of Phil Collins songs which are really, really, really good. The drumming is obviously off the charts. But there's a song called, I think it's called Through These Four Walls. Through These Walls. Phil Collins. Yeah. Through These Walls. When you're done with this podcast, have a listen to Candle in the Wind. That's your homework. And Rocket Man. And Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. But also have a listen to Through These Walls by Phil Collins with this very asymmetric drumming and this rather mysterious melody and this spooky lyric. And anyway, the person I was talking to was basically just very dismissive of Phil Collins and had just decided that he is rubbish and he's cheesy. And my thinking on that, my thought on that is, well, some of it's cheesy, but there's some unbelievable gems in there. So I've studied Phil Collins and I have discovered that there is some genius work in there amid the other stuff. Some extraordinary work. And yet a lot of people have made their mind up about Phil Collins. So, by the way, this rant is not about Phil Collins. This is about you keeping an open mind and looking where others aren't looking and finding stuff where people don't find stuff. It's like being in a thrift store. It's like being in an antiques market where you can find some gems that other people haven't noticed. So the Phil Collins thing is just a metaphor for life about exploring and finding stuff where others have decided there's nothing there. Well, you're going to find something of great value. And so what do I mean by that? Well, let's imagine that there's somebody at work called Ian and everyone thinks he's an idiot and he's stupid and he's rubbish at his job. And Ian has no value, basically. It's been decided that Ian is just rubbish. Well, allow me the opportunity to make that judgment myself. So what I'll do with Ian is I'll hang out with Ian, I'll work with him, and we'll go for a coffee and I'll explore Ian. And I guarantee you, I'll find some stuff about Ian that's of very high value that others haven't seen. He's been written off. He's been prejudged. And I'm going to see whether I can find some gold in there that others haven't found or haven't even looked for because they have made their mind up about Ian already. So that's the metaphor, really. Okay? There's an assumption that Phil Collins is just cheesy. And yes, you've got Groovy's Kind of Love. It's not a song I enjoy. I understand that. I agree with you. It's an awful song. Some of the others are pretty awful too. But then there is some copper-bottomed gold. That's all. Are you familiar with that song? Ridiculous. So good. So don't let people tell you what's good or bad. You find the value in it. And you can just say, well, I beg to differ. I know you don't like this, that, or the other. But, I've been working with Ian, and actually he's really good at this thing, which, I actually love doing that at work. I've certainly in the past, I've had people that were considered quite rubbish at work. And I'm like, give them to me. I'll take them. They can come in my team because I've seen something. It's like, I can drill for gold here. I can get the best out of this person who has been written off by everyone else, but I see real value in it. I know it's like going to a scrapyard and finding some beaten up old Nissan or Toyota, which you think actually has more value than the garage realize. You're like, it's £100 for that car. I'll take it. So see if you can do that. Look where others aren't looking. Don't prejudge, and see if you can find value and quality where others have assumed there is none. Gosh, I could talk to you all day. There's so many things. There's a lot on the list. But why don't we do that next time? Because I feel that we've covered a lot today. And maybe I'll just finish on this. I heard it somewhere. I don't know what the context is. But it's good if you don't get the job, if you don't get the girl, or you don't get the boy. In other words, if something doesn't go your way, it's good. All right? It's a good attitude, because if the girl doesn't go out with you, the boy doesn't go out with you, or the job interview does not lead to you getting the job, it's out of your power. There's nothing you can do about it. So you actually have to take it as a positive. You have to go, I didn't get that job. That's great. I didn't get my dream job. Good. Because how does it help you to think, I didn't get my dream job and I'm now going to be really depressed and furious and go to the pub and get drunk and become very, very bitter? You have to say, it's great. And let me tell you, there isn't a biography or an autobiography or a documentary about anybody successful that doesn't involve a setback where there was something that did not go their way and they were gutted about it at the time, but it proved to be the making of them. Thank God I didn't get that job, because if I had got that job, I wouldn't be where I am today with my own business. Thank God I didn't go out with that girl, because in the end, look who I'm with right now. Far better. So it's good if you don't get the job, you don't get the girl, or you don't get the boy. But what's important is you go looking for the next job, the next girl, and the next boy. Have a great week. Enjoy yourself. Explore ice makers. Don't shout at people. Just say the message in normal words at a normal volume. Look where others aren't looking. And the number one purpose of life is to better one's self. So what I want you to do every day for the next 7 days is just make yourself better each day. Small little ways. Eat a bit better, a little bit of exercise, sleep a bit better, work a little bit harder, just everything. Just make it better. Just finesse it, polish it up a little bit, and you'll see amazing results. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. Stay awesome.